We're going to chapter 10, income elasticity. So when we talk about income elasticity, income itself means your earnings, what you earn. So what happens to what you earn? So there's income elasticity, that means there's responsiveness in whatever you earn to quantity demanded. That is what it means. There's responsiveness to whatever you earn to the quantity demanded. So what is income elasticity? Income elasticity is the degree of responsiveness between the quantity demanded of a product as a result of a change in the level of income. So let's just go down and see. Okay, income elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of demand to a change in income. So as soon as your level of income changes, either increasing or decreasing, you have to change, you have to adjust your consumption, you have to adjust your demand. That's what they are letting us to understand. Oh, as soon as the level of income of an household or a consumer changes, that consumer in question would have to adjust his or her spending, because spending is consumption and consumption is demand. You get it? So they said, consider two products A and B. If income rises by 10% and quantity demanded for product A rises by 25%, demand for product A is very responsive to the change in income. Economists will say that the demand for product A is income elastic. In contrast, if the quantity demanded for product B only rose by 5%, economists will say that the demand for product B is income inelastic. This is because the percentage increase in the quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in the increase, percentage change in the level of income. That's what it means. So what they are saying is this: as soon as your level of income rises and your quantity demanded does not increase, that means it is income inelastic. Do you get it? And if your level of income increases or changes and the quantity demanded changes also, that means it is income elastic. Is it clear?
Yes.
So we'll go to the calculation of income elasticity. So to calculate income elasticity is the same as PED and PES. Percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in the level of income. So we say YED equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 divided by Y2 minus Y1 over Y1. There you do it. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
So we go to the interpretation of the value of income elasticity of demand, the interpretation. So we said the values calculated above show, okay, let's forget about them. So we go to necessities. So what we're talking about here is that as soon as we calculate our YED, we're gonna arrive at a figure, yes or no? So those figures that we arrive at, we have to explain them. We have to interpret them. They have a meaning. That is why we are arriving at it. So we start with the first one here. Necessities. Necessities are basic goods that consumer needs to buy. Examples include food, electricity, and water. Demand for these types of goods will be income inelastic. Look at what they said. Basic: food, clothing, shelter, water, electricity. Whatever happens to our level of income, the demand for these things will not change. We need them. Our life depends on them. Our living depends on them. So your income increases, your income doesn't increase, you still have to spend on these things. So the demand for these products are income inelastic. Is it clear?
Yes.
All right. Another example of a good that is income inelastic is petrol. If the value of income elasticity of demand is between +1 and -1, demand is said to be income inelastic. Demand for product B is income elastic because income elasticity is 0.5. So for income elasticity for products, if it is from +1 to -1, it is said to be income inelastic. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we go down. You get to know it better anyway. So for necessities, the demand for those products are income inelastic. Clear?
Yeah.
Then we go into luxury. For luxury goods are goods that consumers like to buy if they can afford them. Spending on this type of goods is called discretionary expenditure. We call them discretionary expenditure because these things are not important. So we only buy them because we can afford this. Our living does not depend on them.
It's not a need.
They are not need. They are luxury. So this means that it is optional. But the fact that it is optional makes it to be income elastic. Do you get what I'm saying? So demand for these goods is income elastic. Examples include air travel, satellite television, holiday in Bahamas. All these things are income elastic. It is when you have the affordability, that's when you think about them. Do you understand? So if the value of income elasticity is greater than 1 or less than -1, demand is said to be income elastic. Demand for product A is income elastic because income elasticity is 0.5. So if it is greater than 1 or less than -1, If it is less than -1, we're talking about -3, -4. Do you understand? Less than -1.
Okay.
So -1 is greater than -2.
I got it.
Okay, great. So whenever you don't get it, just let me know, then I will continue. Okay, I will explain further. So it is income elastic. Then that's for luxury goods. So the price, the income elasticity of demand for luxuries are income elastic. Clear. For basic goods, for necessities, they are income inelastic. For luxury goods, they are income elastic. Then we go to normal goods. Why do we call them normal goods? We call them normal goods because these goods, what it is, we only think about these goods whenever our level of income falls, or our level of income increases. Sorry. We only think about these goods when our level of income increases. That's why we call them normal goods. You don't have normal goods here? Do you get it or not?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. So that's normal goods that we think about as soon as our level of income increases. So what happens with normal goods? They said the value of income elasticity can also show whether goods are normal or inferior. For normal goods, where, for example, an increase in income results in an increase in the quantity demanded, the value of income elasticity will be positive. Product A and okay, now for normal goods, as soon as you calculate your YED and it gives you a positive figure, it means it is income elastic. Do you understand? And if it is giving you any normal good calculation will give you positive figure. So for inferior goods, why do we call them inferior goods? We call them inferior goods because we only think about these goods as soon as our level of income falls. Do you get it? So for the YED for inferior goods are always negative.
What do you mean when we only take about when our level of income falls?
When you don't have much, that's when you think about those goods.
Okay.
So whatever goods you think about when your level of income drops, it's an inferior goods. Those goods that you think about when you have much with you, they are normal goods. Clear?
Clear.
Any question about that? So we'll move on. So I'm going to quickly recap that. We said we have necessities, which has income inelastic. We have luxury, which has income elastic. For normal goods, it has to be positive. For inferior goods, it has to be negative. Clear?
Clear.
So we go to price elasticity and businesses. Are you there?
Yes.
The price elasticity can provide useful information for businesses. For example, it can help firms predict the effect of price change in total revenue. When a firm changes its price, there will be a change in the quantity demanded and therefore a change in total revenue. You want to write something?
No.
Okay. So it will be useful for firms to know what effect a particular price change might be on total revenue. The value of price elasticity can help here. So for price elasticity and business, look at me please. What they're saying is that the usefulness or the importance of price elasticity is that it helps business to know the changes that could occur when they sell their products. If their product is inelastic, they understand that when they increase the price, their total revenue will increase. If their product is price elastic, they cannot increase the price because when they do, their total revenue would fall. That is the price elasticity and business. Is it clear?
Clear.
Then we go to income. Then we have income elasticity and businesses. Are you there?
Yes.
We go to income elasticity and businesses. Many firms would be interested in income elasticity of demand. This is because changes in income in the economy may affect demand for their products. If firms know the income elasticity of demand for their products, they can respond to predicted changes in income. So I'm going to explain the first part there. For firms, income elasticity is of interest to them. Why? Because it is those that have income. The more income you have, the more money you spend. So it is about those who have income, because if you don't have income, you don't even buy. And who are those that buy their products? Those that have money. So that's why it is of great interest to them to understand how income elasticity works within the economy. Some manufacturers have flexible resources and can switch from the production of one good to another. For example, the manufacturer of plastic products may be able to switch from the production of plastic buckets to plastic toys. A predicted rise in income may encourage such a firm to make more plastic toys if demand for them was income elastic. Also, firms that produce goods that are income elastic would expect changes in income to affect the demand. So if incomes are expected to rise in the future, they can plan ahead, making sure they have enough capacity. For example, in contrast, if a recession were expected, such firms would plan to cut output. This is because incomes are likely to fall during recession. So the rest are story. Let me just explain them. So either you are a manufacturer or in as much as you are doing business, it is important for you to understand what happens with income in the future. So when you are able to predict about, it is an estimate though. So if it is predicted that in the future, income is going to increase, and you have products that consumers would always want to buy, and you understand the kind of income earners that would buy your product, and their income level would increase in the future. So you might make availability for that. You might prepare ahead of that by increasing your capacity to increase your output. That is the point about income elasticity. And if it is predicted that there's going to be recession in the future, so you should start making adjustments to your output by reducing it, by cutting your output, because in the future, income level would fall. So if you are selling products that are income elastic, in the future, you won't sell. Do you get it or not? No, I'm going to explain again. For income elasticity and business, for businesses, it is important for them to understand what happens with income in the future. So how are they going to be able to do this? They're going to be able to do this by making predictions of the future. So making predictions of the future means what will happen with income in the future. So if, yes.
But they will have a risk. There'll be a risk if they're only making predictions without knowing what's actually going to happen.
These predictions we're talking about are assumptions, and they are done by experts.
So it's less likely for them to fail.
Yeah, the possibility of it happening is higher than not happening.
Okay.
Do you get it now?
Yes.
So they measure it too. So this is what happens. If the product you sell is income inelastic, you don't have problems with the future. But if the product you sell is income elastic, and it is predicted that income would rise in the future, that means you can make more capacity to increase your output. Because as soon as income rises, your demand for your product will increase based on the fact that it is income elastic. Now, if it is predicted in the future that in the future there's going to be recession will not just happen. There are signals. There's what we call market signals. So these signals are what experts, economists work on. So if it is predicted that in the future there's going to be a recession, businesses that sell products that are income elastic should start cutting their output, because at that period of time, income level would fall. That means they're not going to be able to sell as they used to sell. Is it clear? So this is income elasticity and businesses.
Yeah.
Any question about it?
No.
So we'll move on. Price elasticity and the government.
Yes.
Government often wastes revenue by imposing indirect taxes such as value-added VAT and excise duty on products. It is important for government to select products that have inelastic demand. This is because consumers will avoid heavily taxed products if demand for them is elastic. Therefore, government target goods that are either necessities or have few substitutes. However, most governments do not target goods such as food and water, despite the fact that they are necessities, which are essential to human survival. Popular targets for government when imposing taxes are cigarettes, alcohol, and petrol. Demand for these products are very price inelastic. So, government also take decisions. Government also make policy. So if government have to make policy, if government has to make policy, they have to make it based on market signal. And market signal is price elasticity. Get the point here. So if government wants to decide on imposing taxation, government would not impose taxes on food, water. No, they won't. Electricity, because our lives depends on them. So, but if government thinks of reducing consumption, it will be consumption of demerit goods or goods that the rich can afford. Example of demerit goods are cigarettes, alcohol. They cause harm to the earth. They are harmful to the earth. So these goods, government might impose higher taxes on them to increase their revenue and to discourage people from taking them. Do you get the point here? So government would impose tax on consumption, but not on consumptions that are necessities. Government will impose tax on goods that have that are income inelastic, like alcohol, like people will take them. They are addicted to it. So no matter what price they sell it, they will still buy it because they have addiction. So this kind of goods, government would impose taxes on them. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Any question about taxes?
And they put taxes on any product that will give off negative externalities.
Yes.
Okay.
Or yeah, demerit goods are negative externalities. They are market failure.
Clear.
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 They'll go to subsidies. Subsidy is an example, is a opposite of taxes. So government help. So if government wants to encourage consumption and production of inelastic goods that are inelastic, that are priced inelastic, if government wants to increase the consumption and production, government will help those firms that produces them with financial help. Will help them financially. So if government helps them, it means their cost of production would fall and becomes affordable for consumers. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So that's about subsidy. Any question about it?
No.
So move on. Oh, multiple choice question. Which of the following shows, now I believe you should be able to answer the question now.
Yes.
Which of the following shows the income elasticity of demand for an inferior goods?
A.
Negative.
It has to be negative.
Was that the question you were looking for before?
No, it was the second one. I didn't fully understand.
Okay, now let's go to the second one. They said the PED of a product is minus 2.4. What will happen if the price of this product is increased by 10%? In price elasticity of demand, forget about negative or positive. It is either elastic, perfectly elastic, inelastic, perfectly inelastic, unitary. So if it is 2.4, is it elastic or inelastic?
Negative 2.4.
If it is negative or positive, it's elastic. So if you increase the price of this product by 10%, what happens?
Total revenue will rise.
What?
Total revenue will rise. Because no, it will fall.
It will fall. Total revenue will fall.
It will fall.
Is it clear now?
Yes,
because
now I get it.
The price, it is price elastic. So if prices increases, nobody will buy.
The demand will fall.
Is it clear?
Clear.
Is chapter 10 clear?
Now
very well.
Yes. Now
Great.
it's clear.
All right. So we'll go to chapter 11.
Okay. I'm just go back to see if there's any questions.
Okay. So we'll go to chapter 11, the mixed economy. We call it mixed economy because it combines both the planned and the free markets. So we scroll down. An economy is said to be a system that is trying to solve the basic economic problem of scarcity. So how is the economy going to solve this problem? This economy will be able to solve this problem through allocation of resources. So that is all what we're talking about, allocation of resources. So in an economy, goods and services will be provided by the public sector or the private sector. Are you with me?
Yes.
Good. So if goods and services are provided by both the public sector and the private sector, we call that a mixed economy. If allocation is done by the private sector alone, with little or no government intervention, it is a free market. If it is done strictly by government, it's a planned economy. Clear? So this allocation we're talking about is about what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce to. That is allocation. Clear?
Clear.
So we go to the private sector organization. So we call them private sector organizations because they are owned, controlled by individuals and private firms. Clear?
Yeah.
So we have different types of private sector businesses and their ownership. For sole trader, it is owned and controlled by one individual who owns the business. We have partnership, 2 to 20 people coming together to form a business with the aim of making profits. Are you with me?
Yes.
Companies, these are businesses that are owned by shareholders. Clear?
Yeah.
What are the aims of, going down please, what are the aims of private sector businesses? The first one, survival. Are you there?
Yes.
So when the firm is set up, many owners will not expect to make a profit immediately. It takes time to establish a business, and new businesses owner often encounter unexpected difficulties. As a result, the initial aim of a firm might be to simply survive. Survival is also important when trading conditions are difficult. So survival means you want to at least continue with the business. You don't want to be out of business. Yes, it's an objective. So this situation could happen if you are a new business. It does not only happen to new businesses, it also happens to existing businesses. So before we go into the existing businesses, let's talk about new businesses. As soon as you start up your business, you want to sell to customers, but you are not going to create these customers. They are existing customers in that market. And if you are starting your business, it means you have to just do customers with the rest of your competitors because there's no customer in heaven. All are here. So if you have to find them, it takes time for them to even gain your trust, for them to trust your product, for them to trust your service. It takes time. It's not going to happen right now because you have to consider that they are not your family. So they don't have empathy for you.
It's a long process.
So it takes a bit of time. So that period is going to take, you shouldn't think about making profits. Rather, think about surviving,
Gaining customers.
gaining customers. So that is for new businesses. If the economy is in downturn, there's recession, there's economic decline, there's recession. So this situation does not only affect you, it affects us all, everyone. At that point in time, aggregate demand will fall. So income level would fall. So it is not expected of businesses to make profit at that time. So existing businesses might just think about changing their objective to survival. Is it clear?
No.
Any question about that?
No.
The next one is profit maximization. So when we talk about profit maximization, basically we're talking about making the highest possible profit. And why do you want to make profit? Because you want to make profit because it's an objective of a business. For companies, they want to make profit so that the dividends to their shareholders can increase. And what is dividends? Distribution of profit to shareholders. So the more profit you make, the higher the dividends you pay to shareholders. So that would be an objective. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any question about that? We go to growth. Growth is simply expansion. As soon as you have survived, you are making profit. You can think about expanding. So expansion means growth means you want to expand, maybe locally or even enter a new market, or come up with a new product, or increase your premises, or employ more workers. These are all different kinds of growth. Or merging with a new business, or buying over another business. These are all kind of growth. So a business can set an objective as that. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Any question about that? Then we go to social responsibility, which is another objective. When we talk about social responsibility, basically we're talking about thinking more of the stakeholders than the shareholders. Because shareholders are examples of stakeholders too. But here, you are putting into consideration all the stakeholders, those that have interest in your business, those that deal directly with you or indirectly with you, you put them into consideration, whatever decision you take. That's social responsibility. It could be an objective for some businesses. Clear? So that's all about the private sector ownership. Now go to the public sector. Why do we call it public sector? We call it public sector because it is owned, controlled by government. So we have different types of government. We have the central government, we have the state government, we have the local government, which is a municipality. Okay. All right. So for the central government, they take charge of health, they take charge of defense in the country. I think that's what it's clear. They take charge of defense, security of the country, health, infrastructure. Okay. The public corporation and state-owned enterprises. These are when we talk about state-owned enterprises like Tripoli, the company is Tripoli owned. So it is owned by the government, but the government will employ directors to control it. State-owned, clear. We have the local authority. For local authority, we're talking about the municipalities. They take charge of the community of Chanzu municipalities, Siraj municipality, along those municipalities. They take charge of businesses around them. Clear? Clear, please.
Yes.
Other public sector organizations such as the BBC, the railway network, and different companies. So they are all government parastatals. They are businesses, but it is for the government. Any question about that? So what are the aims of public sector businesses? One, before going to the aim of public sector businesses, the public sector businesses are in charge of services. They just want services. They just want to take care of us. They want to ensure that we live a better life. They want to be they want to make sure that all what we need, they are making it available.
Profit is not their main aim.
They are not thinking about profit. Okay. So one of their aims is to improve the quality of services. So they want to monitor quality. They want to ensure that whatever service they render to the public is of greater or better quality. That's one of their aims. 2, minimizing costs. Government resources are scarce, and it is important that waste is minimized. In the past, public sector organizations have been criticized for being inefficient. As a result, government is regularly looking for ways to cut costs in all areas. So, the public sector is seen as an inefficient sector because they are careless, they waste resources, they don't have the motive to put effort, they don't have the motive to increase productivity. Do you know why?
Because they're not gaining profit.
No.
Why?
The public sector salary is constant. It is not attached to productivity.
No
So
matter,
they do more, they do less, they get the same rate of pay.
no matter
So-
what happens.
So there's no incentive to increase productivity. And that's why in the public sector, they are always linked to inefficiency.
Clear.
So to reduce inefficiency, government is trying different ways to cut costs. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Any question about that?
Mm.
Allow for social costs and benefits. For government, there's what we call social cost benefit analysis. We call it cost benefit analysis. It's not here. So for cost benefit analysis, government will not take decision. They take decision based on understanding the consequences, the benefits of that decision, and the cost of that decision. So if the social cost of that decision is less than the social benefit of that decision, they will take it. But if the social benefit is less than the social cost, they wouldn't. That is government for you. That is what they are talking about here. So government they will think about it, the social cost and social benefit before taking decision. Clear?
Yeah.
Profit is on countries. The government owns a number of large businesses that aim to make profits. Yeah, like the Emirates airline, it's for government, but they are for profit making. So there are some business government organizations, government parastatals that still aim to make profit. Is it clear? Because it increases the revenue of the country. Any question about that? No. So go to types of economy.
Profit is only partial, yeah, not fully, it's just partially.
Yeah. They will still put into consideration the welfare of the people because it's still government parastatal. Because it's being controlled, it's being owned and controlled by government. And how are they able to get this business? Through taxpayer. So you want to put taxpayers you want to make taxpayers not to be comfortable? No, they have to be comfortable. So whatever price you charge, you have to put it into consideration that this revenue that is used to have this business is generated from the taxpayer. Clear? Is it clear?
Clear.
Right back, please. So we go to types of economy. Different economies have different approaches to providing goods and services. The type of economy used to choose, produce, and distribute goods varies according to the role played by the public sector. There are 3 types of economy. Historically, a country's type of economy was shaped by its political ideology. Capitalist countries adopting a market economy and communist countries in a command economy. Before we go further, let me quickly explain what they meant by capitalist economy and communist. Communism, is a system of government that makes ownership of property belongs to people. That is communism. So that means the society owns everything. That is communism. And for the capitalists, this group of people, they are in charge. The society, the wealth of the nation is in the hands of some group of people. Did you get it? Though when you look at capitalism, you want to link it with aristocracy, but it's not the same as aristocracy. For aristocracy, taking you into government anyway. For aristocracy, it's when the country is ruled by the wealthy people. That is aristocracy. Yeah,
Aristocracy.
the wealthy people, they rule the country.
Aristocracy.
Aristocracy. So for capitalists, what they do is they are the owners of wealth. They are in charge of goods and services. They are in charge of everything. They are we call them, in sociology, we call them the bourgeoisie. Are they the bourgeoisie? No, we call them, yeah, the bourgeoisie, yeah. They are the owners of wealth. So they are the owners of wealth. They use the working class. So the working class would always work for them. That's why they are capitalists. So these days, there's nothing like capitalists. They are becoming the free market. So they own the property, they own everything. Now they are owners. So they decide allocation of resources. So because resources are decided by individuals now, who are those individuals? Wealthy individuals. So resources are decided by them. Allocation is decided by them. Then they become a free market. So capitalism becoming a free market. Communism becoming a planned economy. Because we said, oh, it's for the government. Oh, everything belongs to the people. So when we say everything belongs to the people, it doesn't mean that, it means that we all have rights to it. That's what it means. So who will let us understand that we have rights? Is the government. Do you understand? So that brings us to talking about democracy itself. Oh, that's why they said democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. So yeah, that's democracy. The meaning of democracy, government of the people, for the people, by the people. So government will elect the people will elect the government. Government will work for the people to make sure the people are fine. So government, people elect the government to work for the people and to be accountable for the people. Government of the people, for the people, by the people. Is it clear? So
for the people, to the people, by the people.
Government of the people, for the people, by the people. So because this is something that comes with communism. So we want everything to be up for us, but it can't be for us. Someone has to control us. Someone has to take charge. So we have to submit. We have to be submissive to that institute, which is government. So communism goes with planned economy, capitalism goes with free market. I think it's clear. So now we go into the free market itself. A market or free market enterprise economy relies least on the public sector for the production of goods and services. The vast majority are provided by private businesses. Market forces, that is supply and demand, determine the allocation of resources. The role of the public sector is limited to providing legal system, a monetary system, key state services like defense, policing, ensuring that competition exists between businesses. The most economically free countries in the world are Singapore, Australia, and USA. So for the free market or the market system, resource allocation is done by individuals and firms, private businesses. With government intervention through policy, government has little control. But what government will, the impact of government in this economy is to provide regulations, laws that will bring proper structure.
Make society better.
Yeah, that is what government will do. But when it comes to goods and services, it's done strictly by the private sector. Is it clear?
Okay.
Then we go to the command economy. For the command or planned economy, it is controlled by the government. So what to produce, for whom to produce to, how to produce, it's all by the government. Clear? Then the mixed economy comes to talk about both the private sector and the public sector. Clear? So what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce to, are decided by both the private sector and the public sector for mixed economy. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So in reality, no economy is entirely planned or free. So it's maybe we have North Korea, which is a planned system. Maybe Cuba, I think Cuba is going to become mixed now. So there are no free, there are no strictly planned economy, and there are no strictly market economy.
There's no economy where
that is either planned or free. It's in between. You have to. So go to what to produce. When we talk about what to produce, are you here? Are you there? So the mixed economy itself, they said, okay, since there's no free market, there's no strictly free market, there's no strictly planned economy. That means they operate a mixed economy. So now let's go to the mixed economy. A mixed economy recognizes that some goods such as consumer goods are best provided by the private sector. Goods such as food, clothes, leisure, and entertainment and household services are best chosen by consumers. The market system ensures that the businesses produce the consumer goods that people want. Other goods such as education is a merit good. Merit. Street lighting, that's a public good. Roads are public goods, and protection are public goods. Are more likely to be provided by the state. The public sector tends to provide goods that the private sector might fail to provide in sufficient quantities. This is often caused by market failure. So, why do we have government intervention? We have government intervention because there is market failure. Market failure starts when the social cost of an action is more than the social benefit of an action. That's the first one. There's also market failure when the market forces for demand and supply fail to provide goods and services required by the consumers. That is also market failure. So that's why they said here that those goods that are insufficiently provided by the private sector will be provided by the public sector, such as education. And why do I call education a merit good? Education is a merit good because without government intervention, we cannot all consume them. So just imagine if there are no public schools in the country. They are all private schools. Look at the prices of private schools. Not everybody will go to school. So that is why we call them merit goods. Healthcare is also a merit good. Clear? Clear. Any question about that? So go to how to produce. In the private sector. So for how to produce, now the decision about what to produce is what kind of product do we have to produce for this economy? Well, because the economy has a problem of scarcity. So we need to use our resources judiciously. So to use them judiciously, it means to manage them without waste. We use them very well. We use them for the right thing. So for this to happen, it means we have to take decision about what to do at every point in time. So now we have decided in this country to produce pen. That is what to produce. So if the private sector cannot produce the pen, the government will also contribute to producing it to reduce market failure or to correct market failure. Okay. Now that we have decided to produce this, how do we want to produce it? The process. Are we going to order from China? Are we going to order from Brazil? Are we going to order from somewhere? Or we're going to produce it locally? That is how to produce. Is it clear? Yes. For whom to produce to? So, who are going to be beneficiary of this product? The group of people who are most to benefit from it. Is it clear? Yes. Any question about that? No. So we'll move on. Market failure and the need for government intervention. So, there's market failure, which means social cost more than social benefit. There's market failure, which means if the market forces of demand and supply are unable to give us what we needed. So, although markets may have a reputation of using resources efficiently, because of market failure, resources are sometimes wasted. Market failure is where market leads to inefficiency. It can occur for a number of reasons. So, what are the reasons why we have market failure? Number one, externalities. When we talk about externalities, we're talking about external cost. And what is the external cost? The cost of an action or inaction of a firm, of government, of an individual to the third party. That is clear. So in as much as it becomes a burden to the third party, it's an external cost and it is a market failure. Clear. Example of that is pollution. Either noise or sound, noise or water or air. It's a market failure. The second one is lack of competition. So for lack of competition, you know, we can talk about it in two ways. Yes, in the last class where I was teaching a student, there was a word I wanted to use here. When firms come together to come up with the same price, we call it collusion. They collide. We call it collusion.
Collision, okay.
It means businesses come together to charge the same price.
Okay.
So it's a market failure. Just because that puts consumers into vulnerability. You don't get it? Let me read it and I'll come back to you. Lack of competition. A market may fail if there's no competition and it becomes dominated by one or small number of firms. When this happens, the dominant firms may exploit consumers by charging higher prices and limiting choices, for example. Now, that is not collision. This is dominance. Without competition in the market, it means there are few firms. This could be an example of oligopoly. So, not monopoly, oligopoly.
Oligopoly.
So, if few large firms dominate the industry, it means they have market power. They can influence decisions. This puts customers into vulnerability. Customers are vulnerable to them. Customers do not have any choice. So it's whatever they do that customers have to follow. Customers do not have say. That is what vulnerability means. So they are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Is it clear now? So government must ensure that they come up with policies, regulations that will make competitiveness become legal. So if in the market, those that are large in the market are trying to sabotage new firms or bringing the barrier or making a barrier into that market, it becomes illegal for them to do. Do you understand? Do you understand or not?
Yes. So will the government make these barriers illegal?
Thank you.
Okay.
The third one, missing market. When we talk about missing market, basically we're talking about what is not being provided in the markets. So if the market, if some provision of services or production of goods are missing, the private sector are not providing them. Why are they not providing them? Maybe they are not providing them because they feel it is not their duty to do. So government must take charge. Example is the provision of public goods or merit goods. The private sector will provide education, but for those who can afford it. They won't provide it for free. It is for the government to do. Is it clear?
They'll provide it, but for a price.
Is it clear?
Clear.
Lack of information. Are you there?
Yes.
For lack of information, yeah, we're talking about people missing out on information. There's information gap. There's asymmetric information, which makes you as a consumer to overestimate the benefit of consuming a product or underestimate the benefit of consuming a product. So if consumers take decisions based on the fact that they lack information and they overconsume, it's a market failure. They underconsume, it's a market failure. So lack of information might make you to do that. Is it clear?
Okay.
So government would set up by investing more on advertisements. You get it? Some people smoke because they don't even understand the consequences of smoking. Yeah, it is written everywhere. It's stated. But some people are illiterate. They can't even read. They can't understand. So government might spend more to make this information, this kind of information, to put it into different languages. That is spending. Do you understand? Any question about that?
No.
Then we go to factor immobility. That's another problem. For factor immobility, it means factors of productions are not mobile.
What does it mean by this?
Yes, okay. Any question about it?
No question.
For factor of immobility, if factors of productions are not mobile, they are not being able to be used, there's no flexibility in factors of production. It brings about market failure. If there's flexibility about in factors of production, it corrects market failure. Is it clear?
Clear.
So as a result, the machine may, okay. Now let's see what they said here. So based on these reasons, based on all this market failure, there's need for government intervention. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
So for government intervention, what are they trying to say here? They say, owing to the threat of market failure, the government often has to intervene in markets. For example, some examples are given below. One, businesses that imposes externalities may be heavily regulated or fined for polluting the atmosphere. So, different forms of government intervention. One is regulations. Regulations like fine, litigation, court litigation on offenders. The government can use legislation to prevent businesses from dominating markets. It can investigate. So some businesses want to merge so that they can dominate the market. They are not merging because of consumers. They want to merge so that consumer choice reduces. So government would investigate that type of integration.
And they'll be fined.
If found guilty. State money can be used to provide public goods and merit goods, which are in the missing markets. Clear.
Yeah.
Information failure. Government can invest on advertisements, provide information. Clear.
Yeah.
The government may be able to help to make some factors more mobile. Factor in mobility. They make it more mobile through education and training and the rest. Clear.
Clear.
We go to the role of the private and the public sectors in the production of goods and services. So here, basically, we want to talk about the public sector. So goods and services, durable goods, are provided by the private sector. Services that are inevitable, essential, are provided by the government. We call them public goods. So what are public goods? Public goods are goods that are non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Non-excludable, non-rivalrous. These are public goods. What makes them non-excludable? They are non-excludable because as soon as they are being provided, you cannot stop anyone from consuming it. So if government provides this pen, nobody can stop me or you from having it. That is non-excludable.
Everyone can consume.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
For non-rivalry, your consumption does not reduce my own consumption. That is non-rivalry. It's not the same as non-excludable. Non-excludable means you cannot stop me from consuming it. Non-rivalry means your consumption does not reduce my consumption. Are they the same?
No.
Wait, is it clear?
Yeah.
So a public good is a good that is what? Non-excludable, non-rivalry. Clear? So, when we talk about public good, why do you think government comes up with provision of public goods? Why do you think so?
Because if the public sector is the one who makes these goods, then everyone will have access to it.
Now I'm saying, yeah. The question, maybe I'm not getting my question. I said, why do you think government has to intervene and provide public goods? Because there's market failure. Because the market forces for demand and supply are not providing these goods and services that we wanted. There's market failure. Why are the private sector not providing them? They are not providing them because if they provide these goods, they are supposed to be provided by government because they are non-excludable, they are not rivalrous. The private sector cannot stop anyone from taking them, like street lights. So the private sector would not want to dabble into what is not going to be profitable. So there is a free rider problem. So because there's a free rider problem, these goods will not be provided, would never be provided by the private sector. If private sector provides street lights and they want everybody to pay, some people won't pay. And you can't stop them from passing through the street. It's the government street.
It's for public use.
So the private sector would not provide those things that would not allow them to sell.
Because they want to make profit.
Because of the free rider problem. And with the free rider, a free rider is an individual who benefits from what he or she does not spend on.
Like us, or like street lights, like you said. We don't pay for it, but we use it.
So that makes you a free rider. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Any question about that?
Yeah.
So because of a free rider problem, that's why they will not provide it. So government would intervene to provide them. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
The public sector and private sector in different economies. The balance between public sector activity and private sector activity would vary in different countries. In some countries, government play a key role in the provision of key public services such as education, healthcare, and security. So, In contrast, I'm going to the next paragraph, then I will explain them together. In contrast, some government believe that a greater quantity of goods and services should be provided by the private sector. So what they are trying to let us understand here is about privatization. Why do we have a mixed economy? We have a mixed economy to understand, to be able to solve the problem the planned economy would have given, or the problem the market economy would have given. So that's why the advantages of the market system becomes a disadvantage in the public system, in the plan system. The advantages of the plan system is a disadvantage in the market system. So we need both market system and the plan system to have a structured economy. So government will decide. If government think that they won't be able to do these things, they are inefficient, government will hand it over to the private sector. If the private sector becomes inefficient, the private sector will hand it over to the government. So that is where privatization comes in. So there's privatization, there's nationalization. But these days, we talk more of privatization because it is expected of the private sector to be more efficient than the public sector. Is it clear? So that's the story about the public sector and the private sector and different economies. Any question about it? Yeah. The multiple choice question. Which of the following goods or services is most likely to be provided by the public sector in a mixed economy? Water waste. Good. Which of the following is an aim of a public sector organization?
Providing a public service.
Great. We'll move on. That's in chapter 11. So go to chapter 12. Privatization. So when we talk about privatization simply means the handing over of the public sector or the state-owned businesses to the hands of the private sector or the private individuals. Do you understand? So let's just go down. What is privatization? Privatization involves transferring public sector resources to the private sector, like I just said. Privatization has taken place in numbers of forms. So how do we take, because these are case studies regarding UK, but we wouldn't talk about that. I have to talk about it generally. So how does privatization take place? One, sale of nationalized industries. So when we talk about industries, we're talking about businesses that manufacture goods and services that belongs to the government are now taken over by private sector. That's an example of nationalization or privatization. So these manufacturing companies that add up to the output of the country has been bought by the private sector. That's one example of nationalization. The second one is contracting out. When government and local authority services have been contracted out to private sector businesses, this is where contractors are given a chance to bid for services previously supplied by the public sector. So here, it is what the public sector does. They do it. But now, it is opened to anybody, even as much as you have the financial capability and you are convincing to do it, you can do it. Things that are being done by the public sector businesses, things that are being done by government agencies, now can be done by the private sector. So it becomes an open bid for anybody. The government will bid, the private sector will also bid. So they give it to the best one who can execute the project. That is contracting out. Is it clear? The sale of land and property. So these days, government owns the land. It's for the government. So government sell it out to private sector businesses that needs to build offices, factories, and the rest. Is it clear? Yeah. Why does privatization take place? So why do we even talk about privatization? Why does government come up with this ideology? One, to generate income. So government will sell land, property, to have more money with them, to have more revenue, which can be used for maybe infrastructure, healthcare, education, and so on. You get that? Yeah. So they will do this instead of trying to borrow more money internationally. Why can't they source for their own fund by selling the government-owned properties that are not useful to them, that will be useful to the private sector? That's the first reason. The second one, public sector organizations were inefficient. Yes, we talked about it. They don't have the motive to put effort to be efficient. So it is expected of them not to do more. The private sector will do better. So it's service to the private sector. Okay? The third one, to reduce political interference. If, as soon as there's new dispensation, you know what dispensation is? New government coming in. Before now, there was Siraj, Faiz Siraj. Now it's the Bible. Those that work under the government of Faiz Siraj might have left now. New people have come through the Bible that he can trust. So that means there's interference. There is how do I put it? There's interference, yes, in the public sector, because as soon as the new government comes in, the system changes, which is not good. It's not consistent. New government will come up with new system, with new interest. So this is one of the reasons why they want to lay those essential businesses, or we don't call them essential, those strategic businesses are taken away from government handling. So as soon as there's political issues, it does not affect them. Is it clear? That's all about that. Any question up to now?
No.
Okay, so we'll go to effects of privatization. Are you there? Privatization has a big impact in some nations. The effect have been felt in a number of areas, and some evidence suggests that there have been both advantages and disadvantages resulting from privatization. So what are the advantages of privatization to consumers and the problems of privatization to consumers? So for consumers, we start. It is hoped that consumers will benefit from privatization. Once in the private sector, businesses are under pressure to meet customer needs and return the profit for the owners. This should mean that the business will be efficient, try to provide good quality products, charge a reasonable price, and grow. However, consumers have seen both improvements and a decline in price and services. So I'm not going to go through the examples here. I'm just going to stop at the point where we have to talk about the advantages and disadvantages. With privatization, consumers set to benefit. Why? Because firms become more competitive. There will be competition in the market. More goods will be provided in the market. More choices for consumers. As a result of this, businesses will be forced to increase or improve the quality of what they sell. So if they have to improve the quality of what they sell, because that is one of the reasons why consumers will be rational. So if businesses have to improve on it, they need to do it without increasing their cost of production. Because if in the course of trying to improve the quality, they incur more cost, it means their profit will be less, because there's a limit to what you can sell, the price you can sell to consumers. So you want to sell at an affordable price to consumers. At the same time, you need to think about the shareholders. They need the return on their investment. So you have to strike a balance. And striking the balance makes it to be efficient. You don't get it. Yeah, I understand. Consumers would be beneficial. Consumers will benefit. How? With privatization, more output within the economy. Yes or no? Good. So with more output within the economy, it increases the choices consumers can make. Yes or no?
Yes.
So if consumers have more choices to make, what happens? Businesses have to be at their service always. Yes or no? So consumers become the kings. And then the customers are the king anyway. They don't control, but you have to listen to them, to their demand. Do you get it? Now, you are not only going to be attentive to customers. You have to remember that there are investors too, who have put so much money into the business, waiting for a return. Yes or no?
Yes.
So you have to take care of both sides. To take care of both sides, it means you have to be efficient. You cannot increase cost. You cannot increase price unnecessarily. You cannot incur cost unnecessarily. Because if you increase price unnecessarily, it reduces your revenue. If you incur more cost, it reduces your profit. So either ways, you must be in between to ensure that costs are not so much incurred, prices are affordable. to have customers with you, and to encourage investors.
There must be a balance.
You must strike a balance. And to strike a balance, you have to be efficient. Is it clear? Then, what is the problem about this? Most of the time, consumers do not have the necessary information. There's information, but that's the first one. Another point about this is that businesses might collide. They form a cartel. They form a cartel. A cartel is businesses coming together to collide to set a price that the market will sell. We call it cartel.
Okay.
Is it clear? Cartel, please write it down.
But it's in the book.
No, it's not there. But do you understand what I'm talking about?
No, I get it.
So they said this should mean okay. However, consumers have seen both improvement and decline in price and services. They made examples here anyway. But I think you understand the point anyway.
No, I get it.
Okay, so we'll go to workers. For workers, how does privatization help workers? Quite often in the run of up to privatization and after an organization has moved into the private sector, quite large numbers of people are made redundant. Although this may reduce costs, many see this as a negative effect. Evidence of this provided is what happens in the UK. So, as soon as privatization takes place, remember, the private sector businesses, they only want to make profit. The public sector wants to render services. So if the private sector buys over a public sector business, the first thing they do is they take away those who are not efficient in the business. They make them redundant. So a lot of people will be unemployed. A lot of people will lose their jobs.
There will increase unemployment.
It will increase unemployment. But why are they losing their jobs? They are losing their jobs because there will be repetition. Oh, our business is, okay, let's say our business is production of laptops. Government also produces laptops. Now we are buying the government business that is producing laptops. The department that we have here is the same department they're going to have there. So that means we need few workers to join together. If not, there will be repetition of jobs. So what one person should do, 3 people will be doing it because those people are coming to join your department. Do you understand? So that's why the private sector would make those that are not going to be efficient, that are surplus to requirements, they make them redundant. Because redundancy means you are surplus to requirements. Oh, we need only 2 people here, we have 4. 2 people have to go, they will be made redundant. Is it clear? So that's for workers.
Having next people will be just like.
So when there is privatization, workers might lose their job, especially those ones that are not skilled. Is it clear? For the businesses. Once in the private sector, firms are left without government interference and have to face competition. They have been affected in numbers of ways in the UK. One, they said their objectives have changed. For firms, profit has become an important objective. Okay, so whenever there's privatization, it means new businesses are setting up, yes or no? So that increases competition in the market. Yes or no?
Yes.
If competition increases in the market, revenue would fall. Because now you have to share all the customers together. So your profit will be reduced. Then you might think about another objective. That's the first point. Many firms have increased investment following privatization. For example, investment will increase. With privatization, investment will increase. But the problem is that, is there going to be consistency in investments? That would be an answer that happens in the future. If you think the public sector were not efficient and you take over, and at the end of it all, it is not still efficient, then it becomes a problem. We buy over private sector, we buy over state-owned businesses because they lack efficiency. Buying those public sector businesses you wouldn't know what happens in the future.
There'll be
So
risk.
it's a risk. So if and that it is more of uncertainty than a risk, because you are not in their shoes before. You are not with them in operations.
You don't know what happened.
You don't know what they really do. They might have had bad reputation before selling it. So the bad reputation might continue without you knowing about that. So you continue with that trend and you might not sell. That is the point they are making there.
Okay.
Do you get it now?
Yeah, I got.
There have been a number of mergers and takeovers involving newly privatized firms. So privatization also brings about integration. That's what it means, that there's integration. With privatization, to bring about integration. Integration means merger or takeover.
Okay.
Is it clear? Is it clear, please?
Clear.
These are businesses. What else do we have there? Now, for businesses, they said, okay, okay.
There's one more.
All right. So many privatized businesses have diversified into new areas. For example, the British, they make the example of the companies here. As soon as you buy over the public sector business, you might change the structure, you might change its model of operation. Oh, they are used to producing laptop. Now we're not going to use this company to produce laptop. We're going to use it to start producing phones. Diversification. So privatization brings about or helps to bring diversification too. So businesses that have been privatized can change their objective, can expand, can take over, can diversify. Are they clear?
Okay.
Now go to government. One way in which governments have benefited from how do business or government benefit from privatization? One way in which government have benefited from privatization is the huge amount of revenue that has been generated. However, privatization has been expensive. In particular, the amount of money spent advertising each sale has been criticized. The money spent on advertising was at the time. Okay, so let me just explain government benefits here. As soon as there's privatization, government will generate revenue. Yes or no? So this revenue can be used to develop the economy. But the problem about this, about privatization through government, is that government might have to spend heavily on advertisement to let people be aware of the sales of their property. You wouldn't know that government wants to sell this without advertising. So government might have heavily invested on advertisement to make it reach the public notice.
Make awareness for the people who want to buy.
So that's an expensive situation there. So okay, that's about that. I think it's clear. Because the rest are stories that we don't need.
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. That's a case study. Oh, the multiple choice question. Which of the following is the motive for privatization? The motive for privatization.
B.
The motive. So which of the following is a motive
Oh.
for privatization? The reason for privatization.
Improve the welfare for the shareholders.
No.
Mm.
What's the answer? Choose an answer now. Why do we privatize?
It's D.
No.
Mister, it's how it can't be C, Mister.
So what's the answer? I'm asking you.
C.
No.
Why not? Mister, if it's not A, Mister, it can't be C, Mister.
Okay.
It can't be C.
It can't be what again?
It can't be B.
It can't be B.
Can't.
It can't.
Can't.
It can't be B.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Mister, why for privatization you want to be making money for your own company? How would this benefit the
They
government?
said which of the following is a motive for? But why do we have privatization? Not
Oh,
motive for
I get-
privatization. It's to generate money for government. Government is coming up with it. Not an aim of private sector businesses.
yeah.
The motive.
Okay.
Is it clear now?
Clear.
So sometimes we don't get to understand the question. That's why we choose wrong answers. Do you understand? So we have to calm down, understand the question, then we'll be able to choose the answer. So which of the following is a motive? The reason for privatization, to generate money or revenue for government. Is it clear?
Clear.
So the answer is what now? B. And that was the first thing you choose anyway. I think you mentioned B.
Yeah, I said B first thing, then you said no, Mr. Oscar.
Yeah, I want you to convince me. You have to come. If you were sure, you said yes, Mr. It's B. That is what I wanted. So the second one. Many workers suffer as a result of privatization because of which of the following reasons?
Their job will be at risk.
Their jobs are at risk.
They're at risk.
Great. That's C, question 2. Any question about it? No. So we're done. Chapter 10, 11, and
12.
chapter 10, 11, and 12, right?
Yes.